of course.
So I do have some few questions before we wrap
Sure.
up of area of interest. Obviously, there are some operations in the U.S. There's probably some at Dini here, but for the most part, I know you talked with John Panisi. For the most part, the 'Ndrangheta kind of laid off the U.S. as a market and as an operational structure. Now Canada is different, but the USA specifically. Do you agree with that statement? And if so, why?
I think the US is something that we need to study, and actually I'm planning to study it in the next year or so, as soon as I manage to get some money. And because I think there has been an original sin in the way we studied 'Ndrangheta in the US, which is the usual sin of studying Cosa Nostra only, as if we knew everything about it, which is obviously wrong. So on the one end, we keep seeing repeatedly individuals who are of Calabrian extraction in some of the families, let's say New York, which is the reality I know a little bit better. So we do see some people whose grandfather was Calabrian, who is now in close proximity, let's say, to the Gambinos or the Genoveses. Correct. And these people are, they might not be Ndranghetisti, they are maybe just of Calabrian extraction, they probably are Cosa Nostra, but the difference with these people is that they have the right connection, and if they were able and they wanted to activate certain links with 'Ndrangheta, they could way more easily than anyone else of Sicilian extraction could. Correct. Everyone has family in Calabria still. And this is the power of migration. So in a way, there is a potential to the 'Ndrangheta in the US, which in my opinion would be extremely stupid of some 'Ndrangheta family not to exploit. Now, we also know that there are some new investigations of a revamp interest of the Sicilians from Sicily into some of the families in New York. And these links have never really faded, but now they are again into the spotlight of the Italian anti-mafia prosecutor. So within that, again, once you put all of this together and you shake up what is New York, let's say at this stage, you have families who are struggling to maintain their identity because they have competition on all sides. Correct. The mafia is not what it used to be. If anyone wants to get into a new market, it would be extremely difficult to do. So it's better to consolidate the old markets. The old markets being public works, being political corruption, being some extortion / basic racketeering. If they want to step up, the only way to step up is with 'Ndrangheta. There is no other way, because even the families who are taking an interest in the Gambinos, again, well, they never lost their interest, but the ones in Sicily, the Incerillos and all of that, they don't have the kind of international reach. They don't. Correct. So they could. So we could see a third model here. So to simplify, in Calabria, the 'Ndrangheta detains the real substantial organizational power and the real substantial business power. Correct. In Canada, they hold the organizational power, but they have to make concessions on the business side of the story because they're not alone. They have to deal with the bikies, they have to deal with everyone else. Correct. In the US, we can see another thing even more, which is an extreme hybridization of the organizational power with a mix, with a brand name being Cosa Nostra, because that's the brand name and there's no doubt about it. Correct. That's the brand name. But it's all under that auspice. But with a very hybrid formation at the inside, whatever the brand is, and a very hybrid but 'Ndrangheta-led business power. So that would be my hypothesis. And this hypothesis is because I keep seeing people going back and forth from the US, not living in the US, maybe living in Canada, people who have interest in the port of New York, who eventually are there for various reasons, correct, legal reasons. So there are some elements that I think require further analysis, but until I can do this further analysis, you are stuck with my speculation. Love it. Well, when you come to New York, please let me know. We'd love to host you, and we'd help you in any way we can. Trust, especially with the good work that you're doing. Now, again, to bring up John Panisi, my former partner, you had a good discussion with him. One of the areas that is really fascinating to me as a podcaster, I'm not nearly your level of criminologist, nor am I an official journalist. I'm a podcaster who
has, I guess, curiosities, right? And, you know, we talked about Italy, but in the US, the Cosa Nostra here in the US literally has become a shadow of itself, right?
Yeah.
And part of it, and according to John and others, is that they stayed away from drugs. Ironically, and not, let's be honest, not for moral reasons. They're worried about longer jail sentences. The guys that were in power already sold drugs, they made their money. The younger guys, they didn't trust because they would turn. But in your opinion, in general, should they, like, why did the US Cosa Nostra as a whole, I'm talking Americanized Cosa Nostra, why has that essentially failed? And we talked about why Ndrangheta had almost a hockey stick incline, why the US Cosa Nostra failed. Why, in your opinion, is that?
I think it's a matter of context meets opportunity. The context of when Cosa Nostra left, let's say, the business of drugs in the US, they were made to leave it because obviously law enforcement was really cracking down on certain things. And again, heroin was their the main business, and other came along. I mean, there is no doubt. I mean, other better people came along, and in a time, and competition is everything.